Hello everyone, Fanta here, you're watching FANTAVISION, and today we are discussing how Gearbox has been acquired by a company called Embracer, which is the parent company of THQ Nordic. Now, I think this is good news because that company hasn't forced microtransactions into a bunch of these THQ Nordic games, so I don't think they'll be making, Gearbox put in a bunch of microtransaction-y, loot boxy kind of crap. And, unlike most acquisitions of a company, I actually hope that Embracer makes some changes with the Gearbox company. Because, why not? I can't even think of a whole lot of games that Gearbox has made that I'd be really sad without. Borderlands is an okay series. It's okay. I can't think of anything else they've made. I really can't. I guess they did the Halo PC port a while ago. They've published some good games. Risk of Rain 2 is better than anything Gearbox has ever made. Oh, Gearbox made Battleborn, that wild success. But no, really, the changes I want done to this company is I don't want it to be dissolved, okay? It has potential. Borderlands is okay. And I think that they should fix the employee salaries. Because right now it's based off of profit sharing, which we'll get into in a little bit on how that's not working. So maybe take a look at that, fix it up for those poor developers that are working a ton of hours and not getting paid what they should be. Also, the second big change I want them to make is to fire Randy Pitchford. Now, this sounds harsh, but he has done nothing but drag Gearbox's name through the mud. I didn't buy Borderlands 3 because of Randy Pitchford. Now, I may be in the minority of caring about where my money's going and more, other people are just focusing on the product, but I didn't want to put another penny in this inconsiderate, asshole, childlike, just overall shitty person. I didn't want him to get richer because of me. And after reading all the things that came out before Borderlands 3, I knew that's exactly where my money would be going. Now, why is Randy such a bad person? Why do I want him ousted from the company that I think would thrive without the man? Well, let's take a look at some of the top examples of what he's done over the past just couple years. Remember before Borderlands 3 came out? In fact, a lot of the things that happened were right before Borderlands 3 came out. Again, huge detriment to the company that he even exists. Randy left a USB drive containing squirt porn and company secrets at a medieval times. Okay, now, I think everybody's first question is why was he at a medieval times? No, really. Why did he have porn on his work company's USB drive? Why didn't he just have a separate USB drive for that? Actually, why did he even download it? That's the real question. And he answered as to why he downloaded it. No, he wasn't downloading it to get off. He's not a pervert. Not at all. No, he downloaded it because he thought it was a magic trick. Yeah, that's right. He saw squirt porn and thought, wow, that's impossible. How do you do that? I need to find out, so I'm going to download this video and watch it in slow motion so I can figure out what in the world is going on here. Randy, she's pissing. For the love of God. Really? Really? That's the excuse he came up with, was that it was a magic trick to him. Because yes, Randy Pitchford is a magician. Now, how good he is, I don't know. He's definitely not famous for being a magician. The only reason he's famous for being a magician is probably because of this quote when it comes to the squirt porn. Now, I know this is more than a couple years back at this point, but the fact that he did so much lying during the launch of Aliens Colonial Marines. He kept talking about how much of a big fan he was of the series, how he was going to be faithful to it, how he really wanted this game to be amazing, all while his studio was dedicating some of the money that Sega was giving to them, and man-hours, to Borderlands instead of Aliens Colonial Marines. That's right. The money that was supposed to go there and all the work hours that was supposed to go to Colonial Marines, some of that was being siphoned and put towards Borderlands. Of course, it was a good bet in the end because Borderlands did really well, but one could argue that Colonial Marines would be a hell of a lot better if they actually spent all the time and money they had on that project. They also showed off gameplay that wasn't even close to what the product was going to be like when it came out. And I know that this has become like an industry standard, but it really needs to not be. But I mean, it wasn't even close. The AI was janky. There was a couple things that were so, like, such an easy thing to fix that people, after it came out, they went through and fixed the AI by correcting a misspelled word in the text. I think it was like tether was spelled wrong. Like, good Lord. They didn't even proofread this crap. And then, of course, when the game came out and it absolutely bombed, he got really defensive, and again, he's got like this weird victim complex where he just has to constantly push the blame to somebody else. It's not his fault. He didn't do it. And he decided to just say, hey, this studio that we sent the game over to be finished at, it's their fault. They did it. Now, this other studio barely had any time to work on it. They didn't have nearly the budget of Gearbox. They had a barely functioning product that was sent over. They had a bunch of things that were sent over that were in fact from Borderlands and didn't even have to do with Colonial Marines.
After receiving pre-existing materials, TimeGate employees were shocked to discover Gearbox had made little progress. One source alleged 4 years' worth of work obviously hadn't been done. Another 3 sources seemed to corroborate as much, claiming Gearbox focused the bulk of its efforts between 2007 and 2010 on Duke Nukem Forever and Borderlands. Making matters worse, a separate insider disclosed that what TimeGate obtained from Gearbox was a hodgepodge of assets, including the Borderlands shader and a litany of other assets that bore no relevance to aliens at all.
If you watch the making of Colonial Marines, it is insane how much crap went wrong behind the scenes because of probably Randy's mismanagement. There was also the time that he was accused of assaulting the voice actor for Claptrap at GDC 2017, and I think there were some text messages released between the two, and other people were witnesses to it. Yeah, it's just, you can already tell he's a very volatile person, and you're going to continue to see that during this video. Another time that Randy Pitchford lied, and you can tell that this is not an isolated incident at this point, was when Borderlands 3 launched to record-breaking sales. Now, I don't like how Gearbox does their pay because developers' pay is mostly profit sharing. So they were making less money than industry standard when it comes to making games, but they're promised a big bonus when it comes to profit sharing. Now, even though this game was selling very well, they got a tiny, tiny little bonus check. They were promised this huge figure, huge sum of money, and they were given significantly less for seemingly no reason at all. And of course, to top it off, the CEO, Randy Pitchford, said that if they didn't like their checks, that they could just quit. Wow, that's nice of you. By the way, fun fact, I don't know if it's necessarily fun, but here you go. Randy Pitchford has been accused of hiding, I don't want to say stealing, I don't want to say anything, and once again, I said he accused, I don't think he ever got caught for this, but he was accused of hiding $12 million that was supposed to be going to the developers as their bonus and profit sharing. Wow. Hell of a guy. Going back to Borderlands 3, because like I said, a lot of these things were being dug up from his past and just kind of happened around Borderlands 3, was his constant and incessant whining on Twitter. Holy crap, he was annoying. Now, he just kept saying things over and over that made him and his company look terrible, and again made me not want to buy Borderlands 3. During a Gearbox press conference where they were showing off Borderlands 3 as well as other games that were being put out that they were publishing, he wanted to go on about how much he was a great, wonderful person and how his company was so generous to not have loot boxes or microtransactions in Borderlands 3. Unfortunately for him, Borderlands 2 and 3 both have microtransactions. You can buy cosmetic items for your characters. Now, what he meant was that he didn't have some sort of BS currency in there. He didn't have loot boxes. He still has microtransactions, though. I guess what something has to have to be a microtransaction, according to Randy, is a in-game currency that you have to buy with real money. That's not what that is. That's just another way of tricking people into spending more money. but that doesn't necessarily mean something isn't a microtransaction just because it doesn't have that fake currency. Good old victim card playing Randy did not like the fact that he was being corrected by lots of media outlets when he said there was going to be no microtransactions because there were going to be microtransactions. Of course, his constant whining and tweets just, oh man, it was so funny to watch as he was complaining that they were just, oh, so unfair, and how could you do this to me? Oh, feel bad for me. What he said really was unclear because it was false, but he wasn't lying in this case because he doesn't know what microtransactions are. I guess I'll give him a pass on that one because he's stupid, but the fact that he whined like a child after he got called out for saying something that was false was truly pathetic. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of other things that Randy Pitchford has done. I mean, if you Google Randy Pitchford, you're just going to see a ton of different results. You don't have to even put anything after Randy Pitchford. If you just put Randy Pitchford in Google, I'm sure you'll see lots of results of all the different things that he's done that has made him look like a child and his company look ugh. It just makes his company look bad. So those are all the reasons I think Randy Pitchford should be fired and why I'm not too upset that Gearbox got bought out. I hope that they force some changes in their company, and I'd like to see some good news come out about Gearbox instead of the constant bad news that we've been seeing over the past couple years. Like I said, they've published some good games and Borderlands is okay, so I'd love to see what they can make in the future. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you think Randy Pitchford should be fired, like the video if you guys liked it, subscribe for more content, and as always, have a fantastic day. See you, everybody.